Hello, everyone. Welcome to the monthly release kickoff call for Gitlab for release 13.10. If you want to follow along with us, you can come join us at the release kickoff page on about.gitlab.com/direction/kickoff, where you will see videos and issues that we are working on this year. As usual, I want to remind everybody that we plan ambitiously, which means we emphasize velocity or predictability. And if some of these things don't make it, that's because we plan ambitiously. The second piece I want to talk to you about this time is the fiscal 22 product investment themes. I think I touched upon this last time in January, but we made some more refinements to it. Two clarifications here. One, the fiscal 22 product themes are emphasis areas and not necessarily the comprehensive view of everything we're going to do for the year of fiscal 22. And therefore, you will see certain explicit areas of emphasis as opposed to a comprehensive list. So the second piece is, it's really just 3 items of focus for this year: application security testing leadership. The second one is adoption through usability. We have heard a lot of feedback on improving usability and adding quality of life improvement. So we are focused on that. And then third, SaaS first. And here I want to, again, emphasize one point of clarity. We are committed to self-managed. The fiscal year theme is SaaS first, not SaaS only. And it's really to make sure that we bring parity to the SaaS of the feature sets that are available on self-managed. We've had a couple of years where we have started to slip in terms of the parity, and we want to just bring it back on track. So that's the focus area here. With that, let me share the roll call today. We'll start off with Dev and Sec, which David will cover, followed by Ops, which Kevin will cover here. Kevin will introduce himself. He works in the Ops team, and then Enablement with Josh. With that, let's get started. Take it away, David.
Thank you, Anoop, and welcome everyone to the kickoff call. Before I get started, I did just want to take a moment to acknowledge the difficult times a lot of people are experiencing, whether it's the hundreds of thousands in Texas who still don't have their power or their water, or others across the country, because this storm was impactful to a lot of states. I want to let you know that our hearts are with you, and we'll keep you all and your families in our thoughts. So with that, let's hop in. Anoop just mentioned the themes, and we'll start with the dev section first. The dev section updates are primarily around the usability component. Starting off with create, we're adding the ability to allow force push onto protected branches. This kind of seems a little counterintuitive. However, there's use cases in which we want to be able to enable customers to make changes to that protected branch without needing to change the configuration and lose their configuration settings. So here you can see the ability to enable a force push, identify people who are allowed to push, and this will allow use cases such as pushing a fix that is immediately needed within your production environment due to an incident, or things such as allowing patterns of where you would want to be able to push from based off a certain scenario. The team's done a very good job documenting lots of use cases, so I highly recommend you read through that. We're also looking to simplify the menu functionality within our platform. The first focus is actually on these top 3 menus here. This will be a multi-milestone project. Our first goal is to be able to combine these 3 buttons into one. All this work was done, all the research by our UX research team, identifying best workflows and improving the overall usability of the product. So here is a working prototype of what that would look like. You can now see I have a single button at the top. I can click on it, go down and select, say, groups, and then say view my groups, and now it's changed to showing the groups. You'll also see that we have search and recently visited. Those are things that will continue to be improved upon outside of 13.10, but we'll begin that process iterating with combining the menu together. This is seems like a very small enhancement. However, I think it speaks to the power of what we're trying to do with usability. We are going to make it possible for you to link to a single line number within the web IDE. So imagine whether you're like GitLab today and you're always fully remote, or you say are just remote for the time being. It can be hard to collaborate on a common project. And usually today you'd say like, oh, please open up this file and go to line 555. Instead, you'll be able to get a link off that line, send that link to them, and it'll hop them directly to the web IDE with that line highlighted, making it a lot easier to collaborate across team. We're also looking to start our multi-milestone project on repository level incremental backups. It's a known problem that Git has a very hard time with doing incremental backups, and usually they're just full snapshots. And with our technology we have today with Gitlab and the stuff we've built into GitLab itself, we're going to be able to offer that incremental backup, allowing you to get snapshots in time and be able to run backups faster, especially on a large instance. And finally, to wrap up the updates for Create with Ecosystem, we're beginning to improve how our Jira integration works. Today, and obviously this is not a Jira integration because I work at GitLab and I'm using our issues, but you have something similar. Let's say Git Jira issues, and you can click on a list. You see the list, you click on one of these items, and it takes you over to Jira. We want you to be able to stay within the context of GitLab, especially if you're a developer who spends 95% of your time there. Taking you over to Jira to make an update to come back to GitLab is very annoying. And so this is a mock-up of what that would kind of look like. So to start off with 1310, it'll just be the detailed view, as you see here, not editable. And over the next milestones, we'll begin to add the ability to edit, see comments, add comments, and so forth. Over to manage, the item I wanted to highlight for you, it ties both back to usability as well as that AST leadership Anoop talked about at the beginning. I consider, and we consider here at GitLab, that AST leadership is not just who has the best scanners, but who provides the best enterprise security experience. And with that, we're looking to bring our single sign-on support to Git activity. Today, and as we've updated you in the last several milestones, we've been implementing that support for the web UI component here, as you see me sharing. But usability and security doesn't just stop at our web UI. It includes Git activity with the project. So this will be implemented and allowing group administrators to set Git activity back to the SSO settings that they're using. Beyond this milestone, we'll begin to also look at how we do that for API activity as well. And to wrap up with the dev section, let's talk about plan. First item on highlight is we're beginning our multi-milestone work on customizable issue types. Today, there's obviously just the one primary. We've added incident recently, but we want to expand beyond that and give you options. And you'll see here on this example here, things such as feature, bug, enhancement, and tech debt. And that'll allow you to not only categorize your issues, but then, as you can see in this hand drawing, be able to search for based off the type. And once this is done and we're to that MVC, we're going to begin to look at other options such as requirements management, vulnerabilities, and the alerts that are actually built on top of issues today, but they're not a configurable option. They're not customizable. And then finally, we want to implement something we already have on groups today. As the title of this issue says, delayed deletion would be a great feature by default to avoid catastrophes. So today you can actually set a window, but it's not the default. And we want that behavior to be exactly like it is today for groups, where it is put into this temporary pending deletion status. So if you did make a mistake, you can easily recover it. This will also allow us to inherit the results and the settings from above down into the project level. And then to kind of wrap us up here with the sec section, this first item from the stack analysis team, I'm very excited about. We talked about recently on a kickoff call, but improving our accuracy of tracking vulnerabilities with SAST and secret detection. Today, we do that by using the Git commit history. However, what will happen is if multiple people have all opened up MRs off the same section of code and people are making changes, now those merge requests are no longer in sync. So what we're wanting to do is create a unique fingerprinting component so we can track that vulnerability across the project no matter where you are. This will help address some of the false positive issues you've all reported. It will also enable us to be working on our longer term goals, which is tracking vulnerabilities across an entire group, so across projects. So if you dismiss it in one location, you dismiss it for your entire organization. Test on demand, we're looking to begin the next step in that process. This is here talking about selecting a branch you want to run the on-demand scan against. You can see here in our prototype, we have the option to click on which branch we want. It's going to default to the default branch, which is what it does today, but that'll be customizable. This work will start in 13.10, but it'll probably wrap up in a later release. Going back to the usability theme, fuzzing has always been a very hard thing for people to get configured properly. And this is our first step in making fuzz testing approachable to anyone who wants to do it. You'll see here on our mockup, just like we do with SAST and DAST, you'll have the option to configure. So you can say enable, you'll be given prompts to fill in to get in all your information. And then you can say generate code snippet, and that you can then just cut and paste directly into your YAML file. You'll also be able to be kicked over there, so you can create the commit as well. But that'll make it a lot easier for people to get API fuzzing configured and online. And then wrap up secure. We're going to continue our work on our generic security report schema. This is a big step forward for us. This is going to allow us to have a single report structure for all the security scanners that we have today. It's also going to enable partners who want to integrate their scanners into the GitLab DevSecOps workflow much easier because it'll be a single report structure they would be using. I also am very excited about this because we're also looking at moving some scanners this year, and scanners we're using for SAST state may not be the scanners we have at the end of the year, and same thing for other areas like container scanning and DAST. And with this, it's going to allow us to easily replace scanners and give you the best scanner experience to get the best control over your vulnerabilities. And the last item for vulnerability management, we're looking to continue to bring our vulnerability report functionality to parity with the UI. Down here is a screenshot of the user experience in the UI. And two things we're looking to add in 13.10 to the export are the date detected and the location. And then to wrap up the sec section with protect, I'm very excited to let everyone know that with 13.9, so in a couple of days here, our security orchestration category will be moving to minimal. That means that it's time to start talking about what we need to do to make it a viable maturity offering. And the first thing we're looking at is setting policies on what scanners need to be run as part of the pipeline. And we're going to be starting with DAST. And so here you can see in our mockup, the ability to select which project you have your policy in that you want to apply to this project, which is named test project. And then from there, you'll be able to save it, and then it's applied to this test project. So if someone goes into on-demand scans, you can see the settings are grayed out. They can't change them. So that's enforcing that so it cannot be overridden and lose control of your security posture. So that's a lot of stuff that I went through really quickly. I highly recommend you watch the kickoff videos. They're very informative. They go in way more detail than I could today. And of course, feel free to comment on all the issues, and we'd love to collaborate with you on them. And with that, I'm going to kick it over to Kevin.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Chu. I'm a group manager in the ops section. Just as a quick overview, ops section is composed of 8 groups spread across 5 stages: verify, package, release, configure, and monitor. The first feature I'm going to share with you is really awesome. What you're looking at here is the pipeline view for the Gitlab project. This is probably a view that you are familiar with. It's a pretty decent overview of your pipeline. It shows you all the stages as well as all the jobs. However, you might notice that the edges between the jobs, they actually don't tell you a whole lot of information. All the jobs and all the stages already tell you everything there is to know about your specific pipeline, and the edges actually doesn't add anything new. So we're going to change that. You might have already optimized your pipeline by setting up dependency using the needs keyword. And with that, you have access to this Mvc Diagraph. What this shows you is it highlights a dependency for you really easily. In 13.10, what we're going to do is to bring that functionality right into the main pipeline view of your pipeline. So you can quickly tell if you have dependency set up so that your pipeline is optimized, what the relationships are between the jobs quickly and easily, simply by hovering over the jobs with your mouse. We hope this is a improvement that you'll really enjoy going forward. Second thing I want to show you is we are bringing the GitLab runner operator for OpenShift to GA. This is awesome. For all the Red Hat OpenShift users out there, you can now officially use the GitLab runner operator to manage your installation and upgrades of the runner for OpenShift. We really want to give a big shout out for all the beta testers that provided us with valuable feedback. In 13.10, we also have loads and loads of usability improvement, keeping up with the theme for FY22. The first thing I want to share with you, what you're looking at here is a picture of the merge request widget for code tests. And what we found out from our users is these icons, when listed in such a way, is really quite distracting. The details is buried within the text, but our eyes tend to shift towards the icons. And this problem gets bigger when you have lots and lots of tests. It's actually quite difficult for the user to find things that are actionable, things that they can do something about. In 13.10, we're going to change that. So to start out, the results are nested, and they can be either collapsed or expanded. And there's updated icon designs that draws your attention without distracting you from the details of the things you should pay attention to. So for example, here you can simply tell after you expanded the view what you actually need to do to take action on your failed tests. The next thing I want to highlight, we're going to be improving the history interface of the package detail UI. In 13.7, we launched this feature, and the MVC was limited in the sense that you only show the 5 most recent builds of a particular package. In 13.10, we're gonna bring all the information, all the historical information for a given package, but we're gonna present it not just by showing the user everything there is, which there can be a lot of history, but we're gonna show by default the most relevant view. And should the user choose to, they can explore further by clicking in. The next one I'm super excited about. In 13.8, we introduced the pipeline editor, which makes editing your CI config file for GitLab super easy. However, it was limited in the sense that a user can only use the pipeline editor with the master branch. This is clearly not ideal. In 13.10, what we intend to do is to add a branch selector. So instead of just simply or only working with your master branch, you can work with any branch and enjoy the power of the editor, pipeline editor with your CI. Another thing we're improving is previously, if you were to navigate to your pipeline editor and you did not have a CI config file already created, you run into an error. In 13.10, we understand that the editor is particularly helpful in helping you get started with your CI/CD pipeline. You will then instead, after 13.10, hopefully see a empty screen that has a call to action to enable you to get started building your new pipeline. Oh, that is the wrong one. The last thing I want to show you is something different. But instead of showing you that thing, I'm going to turn it over to Josh.
Thanks, Kevin. That's really exciting features coming from the ops section. Can't wait for those. Let's dive into the enablement section of features. And we'll kick off with adoption through usability. The global search team is primarily focused on this theme for this release. And the primary topic they're working on is addressing the latency we have seen with global search on gitlab.com. This is a chart showing the latency. Obviously, we're unhappy with it being this high for the outliers. We've been working hard to address it. And you can see some recent progress and improvements we've had. We, of course, aren't satisfied. And we want to continue to improve. We're working on a few items in this release. The biggest one will be moving comments to their own index. We estimate that this will improve the response time by 54% and will also allow us in the future to improve the usability by having additional faceting options to help users explore and discover content they're looking for. We're also continuing to improve our documentation with the spike of this release, focusing on the getting started process for administrators, as well as also ensuring that the documentation is clear for end users for what they can use and how they can use the tools available to them with global search to find the content they're looking for in GitLab. From there, we're also looking to expand GitLab to other markets, in this case, OpenShift. If you've been listening to a few of our kickoffs the last couple of releases, this has been a theme we've been working at for some time. And we are getting close to the end of the road here for beta. And we are pretty confident we'll ship this in 13.10, which is super exciting and a lot of work. The great thing here is not only can we help our customers who are selected OpenShift as their platform deploy and run GitLab there, but this also, as part of this, we are building an operator, which gives us a control plane, which we see as the future of the cloud data distribution of GitLab for both OpenShift and Kubernetes. The idea here is that you can automate more of the day-to-day operations with this operator and overall reduce the maintenance burden of running GitLab in cloud native and overall improve the experience of our administrators. So very excited about this. Again, we're targeting beta for this release, which is really exciting. From there, we are working on the single platform aspect of things as well. A lot of enablement work happens in this theme. The first topic with Geo is we want to be able to support multi-node Postgres for Geo secondaries. To sum it up, a lot of our customers at high scale have multi-node primaries, and they want to be confident when they fail over, if they need to, that the secondary will be able to handle the load of the primary as fast as possible without having to do further action to scale it. And so this way we can have the same architecture on both the primary and secondary with multi-node Postgres databases, and we can give folks the confidence that they can hit that scale. And so we are looking to have beta here soon. You can see we're working a couple topics here. We just released support in alpha, last release, and we're targeting GA in 14.0. From there, we're also working to continue to improve overall our disaster recovery product. We hit viable in 13.9, or I guess we will in 4 days, which is exciting. And we are continuing on to focus on complete. The main area here we're working on in this release is verification of replication. So confirming for our users that the content is indeed replicated correctly. We're adding this to the self-service framework, which underpins a lot of our content types, and we're selecting package file verification. The cool thing is, by adding this to the framework, we get this not only for packages, but for all the other content types that utilize the self-service framework. So a lot of acceleration there with the framework we wouldn't have otherwise been able to see. We're also taking 2 other content types, uploads and LFS, and shifting those into the framework as well. This is where we get them on that go forward path, and they get all the great benefits like verification for free. From there, we're also working to continue our efforts to overall allow GitLab to run better on small memory constrained environments. We're following 2 kind of prongs here in this regard. One is we want to be able to allow folks to better tune and turn off some parts of the deployment that are not required to fit it into the 2 gigs memory space, but also we want to overall reduce the general consumption of memory as well. We're working on a few aspects here as we have been the past couple months. The most exciting one I want to highlight is that we've actually patched the Ruby interpreter to be able to output information to help us allocate memory use to features. What you can't measure, you can't improve. And so having a Ruby monolith can make peering inside of it and getting insights a little difficult. By being able to instrument this, we can now target our efforts and also better empower the overall product groups in GitLab to manage this on their own as well, right? How much memory they're consuming, the trend, all of that we can make essentially self-service, hopefully going forward. So excited for that. And the database side of things, we are continuing to work on improving the database migration process within GitLab. Right now, maintainers have to do a lot of this testing and review, which obviously is a bottleneck for our overall velocity. And so we want to improve their lives, and of course, all our engineers, by being able to automate this and be able to ideally report back in the merge request the time it took to run the migration and the number of rows affected. We aren't the only ones, of course, who have to run database migrations. And so we want to make sure the work we're doing here ends up back in GitLab so others can also benefit all of our customers. So excited about that. And finally here, we're also working to address a potential overflow risk for certain tables on gitlab.com. To be clear, gitlab.com is the risk here. It's much larger than most of our other instances and has been around for a lot longer. Other instances are not at risk here, but we are approaching the kind of top level of the potential size of our integer key on some indexes. And so we want to go ahead and shift those over to a larger index to make sure we have headroom to continue to grow on gitlab.com. And of course, customers as they approach those scales as well, if they do. So that's it for enablement. I'll pass it back to Anoop to wrap up our kickoff here.
Thanks, Josh. I heard a lot of incredible and exciting things. I'm just going to rattle a few. Linking to single line number in Web ID sounds like a small change, but it's an incredibly useful change in quality of life for developers. Every minute we can save them is a great service, in my opinion. Incremental repo backups, pretty hard thing to do. Great to see us tackling a big problem and solving it. Customizable issue types, I think they're going to be great. As soon as we have more customizable issue types, I'm sure we'll have more requests for various other types of issues. Making first testing approachable, amazing. I think that will lead to a lot of adoption and, more importantly, value to users. I love the X-ray view into the pipeline. I just call it the X-ray view, but it's amazing to see the dependencies just by clicking through it. Pipeline editor improvements all over, amazing. GitLab operator for OpenShift, search latency improvements, and all the other infrastructure work. It's incredible to see the amount of things we try to pack into a single release. So thank you everyone for doing an incredible job. I think 13.10 is going to be an amazing release. All right, thank you everyone, and we'll see you again next month.